Do it anyway. How to trick your brain into discipline. Right now, as you listen to these words, there's a war happening inside your skull. It's not a metaphor. It's not poetic language. It's literal neuroscience. On one side, there's the part of your brain that wants greatness, the part that downloaded this audiobook, that dreams of becoming disciplined, that imagines the person you could be if you just had more willpower. On the other side, an ancient primitive survival mechanism that's been perfected over millions of years of evolution, a mechanism specifically designed to keep you comfortable, safe, and exactly where you are right now. And here's the truth. Nobody wants to admit that primitive part of your brain is winning. It's not your fault, but it is your problem. Because every single day, you wake up with intentions. You're going to work out. You're going to start that project. You're going to finally do the thing you've been putting off for weeks, months, maybe years. And every single day, something happens. You don't feel like it. You're too tired. You'll start tomorrow. You convince yourself that motivation will arrive like some magical delivery package. And when it does, then and only then will you finally take action. But tomorrow never comes. The motivation never arrives. And you stay exactly where you are, wondering why other people seem to have some secret ingredient you're missing. Let me tell you what that secret ingredient is. It's not motivation. It's not willpower. It's not some genetic gift or personality trait you were born without. The secret is understanding a simple, uncomfortable truth. Your brain is designed to sabotage you. And once you understand how this sabotage works, you can hack it. You can trick it. You can rewire it. You can make your brain work for you instead of against you. That's what this audiobook is about. Not pretty theories, not feel-good platitudes, but actual practical neuroscience-based strategies to transform discipline from something you struggle with into something you simply do. By the time we're done, you won't need motivation. You won't wait for the right mood or the perfect moment. You just do it anyway. Chapter 1. The Brain You Inherited. Let's start with why discipline feels so impossibly hard. Imagine you're standing at the edge of a forest 10,000 years ago. You're hungry. You haven't eaten in 2 days. In front of you, there are 2 options. Option 1, you can see berry bushes 50 feet away. Easy calories, low risk. Your brain knows exactly what to do. Walk over, eat berries, return to safety. Option 2, you could venture deep into the forest to hunt a large animal. High calories if successful, but it requires hours of effort, significant energy expenditure, and there's a real chance you'll get injured or killed in the process. Which option does your brain prefer? The berries, every single time. Not because your brain is lazy, but because your brain is efficient. You see, for 99.9% of human history, calories were scarce and danger was everywhere. The humans who survived weren't the ambitious ones who took unnecessary risks. They were the ones who conserved energy, avoided discomfort, and took the path of least resistance whenever possible. Your ancestors, the ones who successfully passed their genes down to you, were expert energy conservers. They avoided pain. They sought pleasure. They did the minimum necessary to survive and nothing more. And that's the brain you inherited. Your brain literally evolved to resist discipline. When you think about going to the gym, your ancient brain doesn't see an opportunity for self-improvement. It sees unnecessary energy expenditure. Why would you voluntarily make yourself uncomfortable when you could stay on the couch? When you think about starting that difficult project, your brain doesn't see potential for growth. It sees risk without immediate reward. Why invest energy in something uncertain when you could do something easy and get instant gratification? When you set an alarm to wake up early, your brain doesn't celebrate your ambition. It calculates that you could get more rest, more recovery, more energy conservation if you just hit snooze. This is the fundamental problem. The world has changed dramatically in the last 100 years, but your brain hasn't. You're trying to succeed in a modern world with a Stone Age operating system. The good news, once you understand this, everything changes because discipline isn't about overpowering your brain. It's about outsmarting it. Chapter 2, The Motivation Trap, a real story. Now, before we go any further, we need to destroy the most dangerous lie in self-improvement culture, the lie that you need motivation to take action. Let me tell you about Sarah. Sarah was a 4-year-old marketing manager who'd been trying to get motivated to write her book for 3 years. She had the idea. She had the outline. She even had the first chapter done, but she couldn't make herself sit down and write. She'd wait for inspiration. She'd wait for that surge of creative energy. She'd wait for the day when writing felt easy and exciting instead of hard and intimidating. And while she waited, nothing happened. Then one day, she told herself something radical. I'm going to write for 15 minutes. I don't need to feel inspired. I don't need to want to do it. I'm just going to do it anyway. She sat down. She felt nothing but resistance. Her brain screamed at her to check her phone, to get a snack, to do literally anything else, but she wrote for 15 minutes anyway. The next day, same thing. Still no motivation, still lots of resistance, but she wrote for 15 minutes anyway. By day 7, something shifted, not dramatically, but she noticed that sitting down to write felt slightly less terrible. By day 30, she had written more than she had in the previous 3 years combined. And here's the kicker. She still didn't feel motivated most days, but it didn't matter anymore because she had learned the fundamental truth about discipline. You don't need motivation to take action. You need action to create motivation. Think about how many times you've heard this. You just need to find your why. You need to get motivated. You need to want it badly enough. It sounds logical, inspiring even, but it's completely backward. Here's what actually happens. You wait for motivation. You wait to feel inspired. You wait for that surge of energy that will finally make discipline feel easy. And while you wait, days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, and nothing changes. Because motivation is an emotion, and emotions are unreliable, temporary, and completely outside your direct control. You cannot decide to feel motivated any more than you can decide to feel hungry or decide to fall in love. Emotions happen to you. They're the result of chemical reactions in your brain, responding to your environment and your thoughts. Waiting for motivation is like waiting for the weather to be perfect before you leave your house. Sure, sunny days are nice, but people who only go out when the weather is perfect don't go very far in life. Successful people, truly disciplined people, don't wait for the right feeling. They act regardless of how they feel. Let me repeat that, because it's the core insight of this entire audiobook. Disciplined people don't wait for the right feeling. They act regardless of how they feel. They don't go to the gym because they feel like it. They go to the gym whether they feel like it or not. They don't work on their business when inspiration strikes. They work on their business on schedule, whether inspiration shows up or not. They don't wait to feel confident before they take action. They take action, and confidence follows as a result. This is the fundamental shift. This is where discipline actually begins. Not with a feeling, with a decision. The decision that your actions will not be dictated by your emotions. The decision that you will do the thing regardless of whether you want to or not. Do it anyway. That's not just the title of this audiobook. It's the entire philosophy condensed into 3 words. You don't feel like working out? Do it anyway. You don't feel confident? Do it anyway. You're tired, unmotivated, uninspired? Do it anyway. Because here's the beautiful paradox. When you take action without motivation, you create motivation. When you start moving, your brain follows. Energy creates energy. Motion creates emotion. But it has to start with the action, not the feeling. Sarah discovered this. And 18 months after that first unmotivated writing session, she held a published book in her hands. Not because she finally found motivation, but because she stopped waiting for it. Chapter 3. Why Your Past Attempts Failed. The Willpower Myth. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. I've tried this before. I've tried to just push through and do things without motivation, and it didn't work. I burned out. I gave up. Why would this time be different? That's a fair question. And the answer is simple. You were using willpower, and willpower is a losing strategy. Let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus was a 28-year-old who decided he was going to transform his life. He set January 1st as a start date. On that day, he was going to wake up at 5 a.m., work out for an hour, eat perfectly clean, work on his side business for 2 hours before his day job, read for 30 minutes, and meditate before bed. He made it 4 days. On day 5, he slept through his alarm, skipped the workout, ate a donut at work, never opened his laptop for the side business, and by day 7, he was back to his old routines completely. He thought he'd failed because he didn't have enough willpower. He beat himself up. He told himself he was undisciplined and weak. But Marcus didn't fail because he lacked willpower. He failed because he was trying to use willpower. And willpower is a finite resource that gets depleted. Here's how willpower actually works. Willpower is like a muscle, but not in the way people usually mean. Yes, you can strengthen it over time, but here's what people miss. Even the strongest muscle gets tired. Every decision you make, every temptation you resist, every time you force yourself to do something you don't want to do, you're depleting a finite resource. Scientists call this ego depletion. Your willpower is highest in the morning and gradually decreases throughout the day as you make decisions and resist impulses. By evening, your willpower tank is running on empty. That's why you can eat perfectly all day and then demolish a pint of ice cream at 10 p.m. That's why you could be productive all morning and then scroll social media for 3 hours in the afternoon. Your willpower failed, not because you're weak, but because you were trying to use a finite resource as if it were infinite. This is why New Year's resolutions fail. People rely entirely on willpower, raw brute force, self-control. It works for a few days, maybe a few weeks, but eventually the willpower tank runs dry, and they collapse back into old patterns. Marcus learned this the hard way, but then he learned something else. 6 months later, he tried again. But this time, he didn't rely on willpower. He used systems. He used environment design. He used psychological tricks that work with his brain's natural wiring instead of against it. He didn't try to change everything at once. He started with one habit, a 10-minute morning walk. That's it. No workout, no perfect diet, no ambitious side hustle hours, just a 10-minute walk. He did it for 30 days straight. Not because he had superhuman willpower, but because he had engineered his environment to make it almost impossible not to do it. He put his walking shoes right by his bed. He set 3 alarms. He told his roommate to physically drag him outside if necessary. After 30 days, the walk was automatic. He didn't need willpower anymore. It was just what he did. Then he added one more thing, then another, each built on the last. A year later, Marcus had transformed his life, not through willpower, but through systems. So, if willpower doesn't work and motivation is unreliable, what does work? Systems, strategies, psychological tricks that work with your brain's natural wiring instead of against it. That's what we're going to build together. Not a disciplined strategy based on superhuman willpower, but a disciplined system based on understanding how your brain actually works. We're going to trick your brain into making discipline the path of least resistance. We're going to rewire your neural pathways so that the right actions become automatic. We're going to build an environment where discipline isn't something you have to force. It's something that happens naturally. Chapter 4. The fatal flaw in traditional advice. Before we dive into the how, we need to address one more critical piece. Why so much discipline advice is not just unhelpful, but actively harmful. Walk into any bookstore, open any self-help book, what do you find? Just believe in yourself. Visualize your success. Think positive thoughts. You can do anything you set your mind to. It's all feel-good nonsense that ignores how your brain actually works. Here's the reality. Positive thinking doesn't create discipline. Belief doesn't build habits. Visualization without action is just daydreaming. Your brain doesn't respond to what you think. It responds to what you do. Let me tell you about Dr. James Clear's research on this. He studied people who successfully built new habits versus those who failed. The successful ones didn't spend time visualizing or affirming. They spent time creating systems and taking action. Every action you take, every single one, creates a neural pathway. Do something once, and you create a faint trail in your brain. Do it again, and that trail gets a little deeper. Do it consistently, and that trail becomes a highway. This is neuroplasticity. Your brain physically reshapes itself based on your repeated behaviors. But here's the catch. Your brain doesn't care whether those behaviors are good or bad. It just reinforces whatever you do repeatedly. Every time you hit snooze, you're training your brain that comfort is more important than commitment. Every time you scroll social media instead of working, you're training your brain to seek distraction. Every time you quit when things get hard, you're training your brain that difficulty is a reason to stop. You're not lacking discipline. You're incredibly disciplined, just disciplined in the wrong direction. Your brain has been perfectly trained to avoid discomfort, seek pleasure, and take the easy path. You spent years building those neural highways. The good news, the same mechanism that created those patterns can change them. You can build new neural pathways. You could train your brain to crave difficulty instead of avoiding it. You can make discipline feel as natural and automatic as breathing. But it requires a different approach. An approach based on neuroscience, not motivation. Based on systems, not willpower. Based on strategic brain hacking, not positive thinking. Chapter 5. What's coming next? So here's where we are. You understand that your brain evolved to resist discipline. It's not a flaw in you. It's a feature of human neuroscience. You understand that motivation is unreliable and willpower is finite. Waiting for the right feeling is a trap that keeps you stuck. You understand that traditional self-help advice misses the mark because it ignores how your brain actually works. And now you're ready for the solution. In the chapters ahead, we're going to build a complete discipline system from the ground up, not based on theory, but based on practical, proven strategies that work with your brain's natural wiring. You're going to learn how to make discipline automatic through strategic environment design. You're going to discover how to rewire your identity so that discipline becomes who you are, not something you do. You're going to master the psychological tricks that make hard tasks feel easier and easy tasks feel less tempting. You're going to build momentum systems that make it almost impossible to quit. And you're going to develop the ultimate discipline mindset, the mental framework that makes do it anyway your default response to every challenge. This isn't about becoming a different person. It's about becoming the person you already are when you're at your best and making that your baseline instead of your exception. Are you ready? Then let's begin the transformation. Because by the end of this journey, discipline won't be something you struggle with anymore. It'll be something you simply do. Part 2. The Core Framework. Chapter 6. The Identity Principle. The Runner's Secret. There's a man I met named David who wakes up at 5 a.m. every morning to run 6 miles. Rain, snow, 20 degrees weather, exhaustion, doesn't matter. He runs. I asked him once, David, how do you stay so disciplined? How do you make yourself run when it's freezing outside and your bed is warm? He looked at me confused. Disciplined? I'm not disciplined. I'm just a runner. This is what runners do. Notice what happened there. He didn't identify as someone who tries to run or someone who should run more. He identified as a runner, and runners run. That's who they are. There's a woman I know named Jennifer who writes 2,000 words every single day. No exceptions. Weekends, holidays, sick days, she writes. I asked her, how do you find the motivation to write every single day? She shrugged. I don't find motivation. I'm a writer. Writers write. That's what we do. Do you see what's happening here? They're not using discipline. They're using identity. And this is the first and most powerful principle in the entire framework. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your identity. Let me say that again, because this alone could transform your entire life. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your identity. Your identity is the story you tell yourself about who you are. And your brain will move heaven and earth to make your actions align with that story. If you identify as someone who struggles with discipline, your brain will find ways to prove that story true. You'll sabotage yourself. You'll quit when things get hard. You'll find excuses because that's what someone who struggles with discipline does. But if you identify as someone who is disciplined, your brain does the opposite. It finds ways to prove that story true. It pushes you to follow through. It makes excuses feel incongruent with who you are. Here's the neuroscience behind this. Your brain has a built-in mechanism called cognitive dissonance. It's deeply uncomfortable when your actions don't match your beliefs about yourself. So uncomfortable that your brain will automatically adjust either your actions or your beliefs to eliminate that discomfort. Most people try to change their actions while keeping the same identity. I'm not a morning person, but I'm going to try to wake up early. And their brain says, no, you're not a morning person. Morning people wake up early. You don't. So, I'm going to make you hit snooze because that's what you do. That's who you are. But when you change your identity first, everything flips. I'm a morning person. Now, when an alarm goes off, your brain says, morning people wake up early. That's who we are. That's what we do. Time to get up. The action becomes automatic because it's aligned with identity. Let me give you a real-world example of how powerful this is. There was a study done with people trying to quit smoking. One group was given all the traditional advice, health risks, benefits of quitting, strategies for resisting cravings. The other group was given the same advice plus one additional instruction. Instead of saying, I'm trying to quit smoking, they were told to say, I'm not a smoker. Not I'm quitting, not I'm trying, but I am not a smoker. The identity focus group had a significantly higher success rate. Why? Because when someone offered them a cigarette, their brain didn't have to engage in a willpower battle of should I or shouldn't I. Their brain simply said, I'm not a smoker. Smokers smoke. I don't smoke. That's not who I am. Decision made. No willpower required. Just identity. This is why diets fail, but lifestyle changes succeed. A diet is something you do. A lifestyle is who you are. I'm on a diet versus I'm a healthy eater. The first is temporary. The second is identity. And identity always wins. So here's the first strategy in our framework. Stop trying to do disciplined things. Start being a disciplined person. Not someday. Not after you prove yourself. Right now, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. You don't need 100 votes to change your identity. You just need a majority. Do the disciplined thing once, and you're tied. One vote for the old identity, one vote for the new. Do it twice, and you're ahead. Do it consistently, and the old identity doesn't stand a chance. Your brain will literally rewire itself to match the story you're telling it. But here's the critical part. You have to claim the identity before you feel like you deserve it. You don't wait until you've worked out for 6 months before you call yourself someone who works out. You call yourself that from day one, even if you've only done it once, because the identity creates the behavior, not the other way around. The runner doesn't run because they've proven they're a runner. They're a runner because they decided they were, and then they acted like it. David didn't become a runner after years of running. He became a runner the day he decided, I'm a runner, and then went for his first run. Jennifer didn't become a writer after publishing 5 books. She became a writer the day she decided, I'm a writer, and then wrote her first sentence. The identity comes first. The evidence follows. Chapter 7. The 2-second rule. The moment that changes everything. Now let's talk about the moment that determines everything. The moment between thinking about doing something and actually doing it. That gap, that tiny window where your brain decides whether to take action or make an excuse. That's where discipline lives or dies. Let me tell you what happened to me personally with this. For years, I wanted to start a YouTube channel. I had ideas. I had outlines. I even bought a camera, but I couldn't make myself hit record. Why? Because every time I thought about making a video, my brain would flood me with images of everything involved. Writing the script, setting up the camera, recording, and probably messing up and having to re-record, editing for hours, finding a thumbnail, writing a description, dealing with potential criticism. It was overwhelming, so I never started. Then I learned about the 2-con rule. Here's what happens in that gap between thinking and doing. Your brain catastrophizes. You think about going to the gym, and immediately your brain floods you with images of the entire workout. The drive there, getting changed, the difficult exercises, the discomfort, the exhaustion, the full hour of effort. It's overwhelming. So you don't go. You think about starting your project, and your brain shows you the massive scope of work ahead. All the research, all the writing, all the uncertainty, weeks or months of effort stretching out before you. It's paralyzing, so you procrastinate. This is your brain's defense mechanism. It makes the future pain feel present and immediate, while making present comfort feel like the logical choice. But here's the trick. Your brain is lying to you because you're not actually deciding whether to do the entire workout or the entire project. You're only deciding whether to do the next 2 seconds. That's it. Just 2 seconds. Not the full hour at the gym. Just putting on your shoes. Not the entire project, just opening the document. Not the complete transformation, just the next smallest step. So, with my YouTube channel, I told myself, I'm not committing to making a full video. I'm just going to turn on the camera for 2 seconds. I turned it on, and here's what happened. Once the camera was on, my brain shifted. I thought, well, the camera's on. I might as well say something. So, I said one sentence on camera. Then I thought, I've said one sentence. I might as well finish this thought. And suddenly, 10 minutes later, I had recorded my first video. Not because I had massive motivation, but because I tricked my brain into starting. This is the 2-con rule, and it's one of the most powerful discipline hacks in existence. When your brain tries to overwhelm you with the full scope of what's ahead, you interrupt that pattern and say, I'm not committing to all of that. I'm just committing to 2 seconds. Put on your gym shoes. That's all. Just 2 seconds to put them on. And here's what happens. Once your shoes are on, your brain shifts. The barrier to entry is gone. You're already in motion, and objects in motion tend to stay in motion. You think, well, I've got my shoes on. I might as well walk to the car. Then I'm in the car. I might as well drive to the gym. Then I'm at the gym. I might as well go inside. Then I'm inside. I might as well do one exercise. And suddenly you're working out, not because you had massive motivation, but because you tricked your brain into starting. The neuroscience here is fascinating. Starting a task activates your brain's task-positive network, the neural systems responsible for focus and execution. Once activated, these systems want to continue. Your brain actually finds it more comfortable to keep going than to stop. But you have to activate it first. And that's where most people fail. They try to activate the entire system at once. They try to summon the energy and motivation for the complete task. But you don't need that. You just need 2 seconds of action. 2 seconds to stand up from your desk. 2 seconds to open your laptop. 2 seconds to pick up the book. 2 seconds to start the timer. The action creates the momentum. The momentum creates more action. And before you know it, you've done the thing your brain said was impossible. This is why Just Start is such powerful advice, even though it sounds overly simple, because starting is the only part that's actually hard. Everything after that is just continuation. Your brain resists starting because it's calculating all the energy required for completion. But you're not asking your brain to complete anything. You're just asking it for 2 seconds. And your brain can give you 2 seconds every single time. I use this now for everything. Don't want to write? 2 seconds, just open the document. Don't want to exercise? 2 seconds, just put on workout clothes. Don't want to make that phone call? 2 seconds, just dial the number. The 2 seconds always leads to more because starting is the only hard part. Chapter 8. The environment is everything. Remove the choice. Here's a truth that will change how you think about discipline forever. You don't actually have that much willpower, and that's okay because you don't need it. What you need is a better environment. Let me prove this to you with a story about my friend Alex. Alex struggled with late-night snacking. Every night around 10 o'clock p.m., he'd find himself in the kitchen eating chips, cookies, ice cream, whatever was there. He'd promise himself every morning that tonight would be different. Tonight, he'd have discipline. But every night, the same thing happened. He thought he had a willpower problem. He thought he was weak. He beat himself up constantly. Then one day, he tried something different. He didn't buy any junk food at the grocery store at all, not even just in case or for guests. Nothing. That night at 10 p.m., he went to the kitchen out of habit, opened the pantry, opened the fridge. Nothing was there. He stood there for a moment, considering whether to drive to the store, but that seemed like too much effort. So, he drank some water and went to bed. The next night, same thing. The night after that, the same. After 2 weeks, he stopped going to the kitchen at 10 o'clock p.m. entirely. The habit died, not because he developed superhuman willpower, but because he removed the choice. Here's the fundamental truth. Your environment is stronger than your willpower. Always. Imagine I put a chocolate cake on your kitchen counter. Every time you walk by, you see it. You smell it. Your brain starts imagining how delicious it would taste. How long before you eat it? A day? A few hours? Maybe minutes? Now, imagine I never brought the cake into your house. It doesn't exist in your environment. How much willpower do you need to resist eating it? 0. You can't eat what isn't there. This is the fundamental truth about discipline. Your environment is stronger than your willpower. Always. Every disciplined person you admire isn't succeeding because they have superhuman self-control. They're succeeding because they've designed an environment where discipline is automatic. Let me give you more examples of this in action. There's a researcher named Brian Wansink who did a famous study on this. He gave people bowls of soup. Some bowls were normal. Others had a hidden tube that slowly refilled the bowl as people ate. People with the refilling bowls ate 73% more soup than people with normal bowls. When asked why they ate so much, they had no idea. They didn't feel more hungry or less full. Their environment dictated their behavior without them even realizing it. The person who never misses a workout doesn't keep their gym bag in the closet. It's by the door, already packed, ready to go. The person who reads every day doesn't keep their books in another room. There's one on their nightstand, one in their bag, one in their car. The person who eats healthy doesn't rely on willpower at the grocery store checkout line. They shop with a list and don't walk down the snack aisle at all. They've removed the decision. They've eliminated the friction. They've made discipline the path of least resistance. Your brain is fundamentally lazy. Remember, it evolved to conserve energy. So it will always choose the easiest available option. If the easiest option is scrolling your phone, that's what you'll do. If the easiest option is eating whatever's in front of you, that's what you'll do. If the easiest option is staying in bed, that's what you'll do. But if you design your environment correctly, you can make discipline the easiest option. Here's how this works in practice. Want to work out in the morning? Sleep in your gym clothes. Put your shoes next to your bed. Make your pre-workout, shake the night before, and put it in the fridge. Remove every possible obstacle between waking up and starting. Want to stop wasting time on social media? Delete the apps, not as hiding them. Delete them completely. Make accessing them require downloading them again, which requires enough friction that your impulse will pass. Want to eat healthier? Restructure your kitchen. Put vegetables at eye level in the fridge. Put junk food in hard-to-reach places. Or better yet, don't buy it at all. Make the healthy choice visible and the unhealthy choice invisible. Want to work on your project every day? Before you go to bed, close all browser tabs except the one you need to work in. Put your phone in another room. When you sit down in the morning, there's only one obvious thing to do. This isn't about willpower. It's about engineering. And here's the beautiful part. You only need willpower once when you're designing the environment. After that, the environment does the work for you. Think about it. It takes willpower to throw away the junk food in your house. But you only have to do it once. After that, every day you come home, the discipline happens automatically because the temptation simply isn't there. It takes willpower to delete social media apps, but you only have to do it once. After that, every time you instinctively reach for your phone, the friction stops you automatically. This is the secret of highly disciplined people. They're not resisting temptation all day long. They've structured their lives so temptation rarely appears. They've made good choices automatic and bad choices difficult. And you can do the same thing. Start looking at your environment with fresh eyes. Every object, every setup, every default choice in your space is either making discipline easier or harder. Your job is to tip the scales in your favor. Make the disciplined choice visible, available, and easy. Make the undisciplined choice invisible, unavailable, and difficult. Do this, and discipline stops being a constant battle. It becomes the default. Continue with remaining chapters. Chapter 9. The Discipline Equation. The formula that explains everything. Now, let's pull these principles together into a framework you can actually use. There's an equation that governs every single action you take or don't take. Understanding this equation gives you a master key to discipline. Here it is. Action equals value time expectation divided by impulsiveness time delay. Let me break this down with a real story, because this equation explains everything about why you do what you do. My friend Rachel couldn't understand why she could scroll social media for 3 hours without thinking about it, but couldn't work on her business for even 20 minutes. She felt like a failure, like she had no discipline. But when we looked at her situation through this equation, everything made sense. ISK asterisk value asterisk asterisk is how much you care about the outcome. How important is this to you? Asterisk asterisk expectation asterisk asterisk is how much you believe your action will lead to that outcome. Will this actually work? Asterisk impulsiveness asterisk asterisk is how easily distracted you are in the moment. How many other things are competing for your attention? Asterisk asterisk delay asterisk asterisk is how far in the future the reward is. How long until you get the benefit for Rachel's social media value? High entertainment connection curiosity expectation 100%. It definitely entertains. Impulsiveness 0 is the distraction delay 0 instant gratification for Rachel's business value unclear. Will this even matter? Expectation low. She doubted she'd succeed. Impulsiveness. High social media, email, everything else. Calling delay. Massive results might take months or years. Of course, she chose social media. The equation wasn't even close. But here's where it gets powerful. You can manipulate every variable in this equation. Increasing value. Rachel connected her business to her identity and her future self. She wrote down, I'm building the business that will let me quit my job. I'm creating freedom for myself and my family. Every hour I work is an investment in never having to ask permission again. Suddenly, the value wasn't abstract. It was visceral and personal. Increasing expectation. Instead of trying to build the entire business, Rachel broke it down into the smallest possible wins. Not build a successful business. Just send one email to a potential client. She could definitely do that. Success builds belief. Belief increases expectation. She started tracking tiny wins. Every email sent, every call made, every small action. Her brain started seeing evidence that her actions mattered. Decreasing impulsiveness. Rachel engineered her environment. When it was time to work on her business, she put her phone in a different room. She used website blockers. She created a specific workspace that meant business work only. Her brain had only one obvious option: work on the business. She also scheduled business work for mornings when her focus was highest, not evenings when she was tired and distractible. Decreasing delay. Rachel created immediate rewards for doing hard things. Finished a work session, checked the box on her wall calendar, made all her call for the day, 20-minute episode of her favorite show. Her brain got evidence that the action was paying off right now, not just someday in the distant future. After implementing these changes, Rachel went from 20 minutes of inconsistent work to 2 hours of focused work daily. Not because she suddenly developed more willpower, but because she understood and manipulated the discipline equation. When you understand this equation, you understand why discipline sometimes feels effortless and sometimes feels impossible. And more importantly, you know exactly which variables to adjust. Struggling to do something? Don't just try harder. Ask yourself, how can I make the value more clear and personal? How can I increase my expectation of success? How can I reduce impulsiveness in my environment? How can I create more immediate rewards? Adjust the equation and the behavior changes automatically. Chapter 10. The Compound Discipline Effect. Why it gets easier? There's one more critical piece to this framework, and it's the reason why discipline becomes easier over time instead of harder. Most people think discipline is like willpower, a finite resource that gets depleted with use. But that's wrong. Discipline is like a muscle that gets stronger every time you use it. But it's also like compound interest. It doesn't just grow, it grows exponentially. Let me tell you about Michael's transformation. Michael decided to start working out. The first day was brutal. Everything in his body and brain screamed at him to stop. He barely made it through 15 minutes. Day 2 was almost as hard. Day 3, slightly easier. Day 7, still difficult but manageable. By day 30, something strange happened. Working out wasn't hard anymore. It wasn't easy either, but it was automatic. He didn't debate it. He didn't need to psych himself up. He just did it. By day 90, working out felt easier than not working out. Skipping felt wrong, like something was missing. What happened? Here's how it works. Every time you do the discipline thing, 3 things happen. First, you create evidence for your new identity. I'm the kind of person who follows through. Your brain records this data point and adjusts its prediction about your future behavior. Second, you build neural pathways. The action becomes slightly more automatic, requiring slightly less effort next time. Your brain literally rewires itself to make the behavior easier. Third, you create momentum. Objects in motion stay in motion. Once you've done something once, doing it again tomorrow is easier than doing it for the first time. But here's where it gets exponential. Those three effects don't just add up, they multiply. Your identity reinforcement makes the next action more likely. That action strengthens the neural pathway, which makes the action easier. The easier action builds more momentum, which reinforces your identity more strongly. It's a positive feedback loop. This is why discipline feels impossible at first and effortless later. In the beginning, you're fighting against years of opposite programming. You're trying to create new neural pathways while your brain is defaulting to old ones. You're building momentum from a standstill. It's hard, but every single repetition makes the next one easier. Not by a fixed amount, by a compounding amount. Michael's first workout was brutally hard. The second was still very hard. The third was hard. But the 50th happened almost without thinking. Not because he suddenly got more willpower, but because he built a compound discipline effect. His identity was now someone who works out. His neural pathways had made the action automatic. His momentum carried him forward. And here's what happened next. The discipline started bleeding into other areas. He started eating better, not because he set a goal, but because people who work out don't eat junk food. His workout identity created a health identity. He started waking up earlier because he needed time for his workout, and early morning worked best. He started being more productive at work because discipline in one area created discipline in others. One habit compounded into a complete lifestyle transformation. This is why you can't judge discipline by how it feels in week one. You have to give the compound effect time to work. Most people quit during the compound discipline curve, right before it starts paying exponential returns. They try for a week. It's hard. They think this is too difficult. It's not worth it. I'll never be able to keep this up. But they're judging the end result based on the beginning difficulty. That's like planting a seed, checking on it 3 days later, and declaring this is never going to be a tree. You have to water it. You have to give it time. You have to trust the compound effect. And here's what happens when you do. 6 months from now, the thing that feels impossible today will feel automatic. You won't need motivation. You won't need to psych yourself up. You'll just do it because that's who you are. The compound discipline effect will have transformed you, but only if you start and only if you stay consistent long enough for the compounding to work. Part 3. Practical Strategies. Chapter 11. The Do It Anyway Philosophy. Your new operating system. We've covered the principles, the identity shift, the two-con rule, environment design, the discipline equation, the compound effect, but all of these are tools, and tools are useless without a philosophy to guide when and how you use them. So, let's talk about the core philosophy that makes everything work. Do it anyway. Not do it when you feel like it. Not do it when circumstances are perfect. Not do it when you're motivated. Do it anyway. This is both simpler and harder than any other approach. Simpler because there's no complexity, no waiting for the right moment, no analysis paralysis, just action. Harder because there's no escape hatch, no excuse that lets you off the hook. Let me tell you about Tom. Tom was a 42-year-old accountant who'd been planning to get in shape for a decade. He had every excuse memorized. Too tired after work, too busy on weekends, gym membership too expensive, weather not good for running, feeling stressed, and needing rest. One day, his doctor told him his blood pressure was dangerously high. He needed to change or face serious health consequences. Tom decided right there, no more excuses. Do it anyway. Tired after work? Do it anyway. Raining outside? Do it anyway. Feeling stressed? Do it anyway. Didn't sleep well? Do it anyway. He committed to 20 push-ups and a 10-minute walk every single day, no matter what. And here's what happened. His brain fought him for the first 2 weeks. It generated every excuse, every rationalization, every reason why today should be different. But Tom had removed all wiggle room. The answer to every excuse was the same. Do it anyway. By week 3, his brain stopped fighting as hard. It realized that generating excuses was pointless. The action was going to happen regardless. By week 6, the action was automatic. His brain didn't even bother generating excuses anymore. 18 months later, Tom had lost 45 pounds. His blood pressure was normal, and he'd run his first 10K race. Not because he found motivation, but because he stopped negotiating with himself. This philosophy cuts through every rationalization your brain will generate. And your brain is incredibly creative at generating rationalizations. I didn't sleep well last night. I should rest and start fresh tomorrow. Do it anyway. I'm feeling stressed. I should take care of my mental health first. Do it anyway. Taking action might be exactly what your mental health needs. I've already missed 3 days. I've broken the streak. What's the point? Do it anyway. Your brain will present these thoughts as reasonable, as logical, as self-care, but they're not. They're sabotage dressed up as wisdom. And the only antidote is absolute commitment to action regardless of circumstances. Now, let me be clear about something. This doesn't mean ignoring your body when you're genuinely sick. It doesn't mean pushing through actual injury. It doesn't mean sacrificing your health. But it does mean being ruthlessly honest about the difference between I can't and I don't feel like it. 99% of the time, when you think you can't, what you actually mean is you don't feel like it. And that's fine. You're allowed to not feel like it, but you're doing it anyway. This is the line in the sand. This is where discipline lives. On one side, people who act based on how they feel. They're at the mercy of their emotions, their circumstances, their mood. On the other side, people who act based on who they are. Their emotions are irrelevant. Their circumstances are irrelevant. Their mood is irrelevant. They decided who they are, and they act accordingly. Do it anyway. 3 words that eliminate every excuse. 3 words that make discipline inevitable. 3 words that separate the person you are from the person you're becoming. I use this philosophy every single day. Some days I wake up excited to write. Other days I wake up dreading it. The feeling doesn't matter. I write anyway. Some days I'm energized for my workout. Other days I'm exhausted. The feeling doesn't matter. I work out anyway. Some days I'm confident. Other days I'm full of doubt. The feeling doesn't matter. I do the work anyway. And you know what's interesting? The feelings often change after I start. I sit down to write feeling resistance, and 10 minutes later I'm in flow. I start my workout feeling tired, and halfway through I have energy. But none of that would happen if I waited for the feeling to change before I started. The action changes the feeling, not the other way around. Do it anyway isn't just a philosophy. It's a decision-making shortcut that eliminates negotiation. Your brain says, but what about? You say, do it anyway. Your brain says, but I'm. You say, do it anyway. Eventually, your brain stops arguing because it learns the argument is pointless. And that's when you become truly disciplined. Not when you never feel resistance, but when resistance becomes irrelevant. Continuing with remaining chapters. Chapter 12. The dopamine manipulation strategy. Make your brain want it. Let's talk about the chemical that controls almost everything you do. Dopamine. You've probably heard of it. Most people think dopamine is the pleasure chemical, the thing your brain releases when you experience something enjoyable. But that's not quite right. Dopamine isn't about pleasure. It's about anticipation. It's about wanting, not having. And understanding this difference is the key to hacking your motivation system. Let me tell you about Lisa's discovery. Lisa hated working out. Every day, she'd promise herself she'd go to the gym. Every day, she'd find an excuse not to. The idea of exercise filled her with dread. Then she discovered audiobook thrillers. She got obsessed with a detective series, the kind where you desperately need to know what happens next. One day, she made herself a rule. I can only listen to this audiobook while working out, nowhere else. Suddenly, she wanted to work out. Not because exercise became less uncomfortable, but because her brain started associating the gym with something it craved. Finding out what happens next in the story. Within 2 weeks, she was going to the gym 6 days a week. Not through willpower, but through dopamine manipulation. Here's how it actually works. When your brain anticipates a reward, it releases dopamine. That dopamine creates desire. the feeling of wanting to move towards something. Notice what's missing? The actual reward. Your brain releases dopamine before you get the thing, not when you get it. Dopamine is the fuel that drives action. It's what makes you get off the couch and move toward what you want. And here's the critical insight. Your brain doesn't care whether the anticipated reward is good for you or bad for you. It just cares about the anticipation. This is why you can spend hours scrolling social media, even though it makes you feel empty afterward. Your brain isn't responding to the actual experience. It's responding to the anticipation of the next potentially interesting post. Scroll. Dopamine hit. Scroll. Dopamine hit. Scroll. Dopamine hit. It's not satisfying, but it's incredibly compelling because each scroll promises satisfaction just around the corner. Now, here's where this gets useful for discipline. If your brain releases dopamine in response to anticipated rewards, you can intentionally create anticipation around discipline behaviors. This is called dopamine stacking, and it's one of the most powerful discipline hacks available. Here's how it works in practice. Let's say you hate writing. Your brain associates writing with difficulty, frustration, and mental strain. No dopamine, no desire, maximum resistance. But what if you paired writing with something your brain already craves? You create a rule. You only get to drink your favorite premium coffee while writing. Nowhere else. Only during writing sessions. Now, when you think about writing, your brain doesn't just think about the difficulty. It thinks about the coffee. And if that coffee is something you genuinely look forward to, your brain releases dopamine. Suddenly, you're not just forcing yourself to write, you're anticipating the writing session because you're anticipating the coffee. The difficulty is still there, but now there's something your brain wants on the other side of the action. I personally use this with music. I have a specific playlist that I only listen to while doing deep work. My brain has learned to associate that playlist with focused productivity. Now, when I hear the first song, my brain automatically shifts into work mode, and I actually want to work because I want to hear the music. You can do this with anything. Only listen to your favorite podcast during workouts. Your brain will start craving the workout because it craves the podcast. Only use your favorite pen or notebook for important work. Your brain will want to do the work because it wants to use the special tools. Only go to that coffee shop you love when working on your business. Your brain will want to work because it wants to be in that space. The key is restriction. If you get the reward all the time, it loses its power. But if the only way to get something you want is by doing the disciplined thing, your brain starts associating the discipline with positive anticipation. You're literally rewiring your dopamine system. But there's another layer to this. You can also manipulate the uncertainty of rewards to increase dopamine even more. Your brain releases more dopamine when rewards are uncertain than when they're guaranteed. This is why gambling is so addictive. The uncertainty of winning creates massive dopamine spikes. You can use this principle for good. Instead of rewarding yourself the same way every time you complete a task, create variable rewards. My friend Jake did this brilliantly. He created a reward jar with different colored slips of paper. After finishing his daily writing goal, he'd draw one slip. Green equals 15-minute break. Yellow equals favorite snack. Blue equals episode of his show. Red equals something special, movie, nice dinner out, etc. He never knew what he'd get. Sometimes it was small, sometimes it was big. But the uncertainty kept his dopamine system engaged in a way that predictable rewards didn't. His brain looked forward to finishing the writing not just for the reward itself, but for the anticipation of discovering which reward he'd get. Now, here's the warning. This is powerful, which means it can be used against you. Social media companies use these exact principles to keep you scrolling. Variable rewards. You don't know if the next post will be interesting. Dopamine anticipation. Each scroll promises satisfaction. Notification. You can access it anytime. So you do. They've weaponized your dopamine system against your goals. But now you know how it works, and you can weaponize it for your goals instead. Pair discipline with anticipated rewards. Make those rewards exclusive to the disciplined action. Add uncertainty to keep your dopamine system engaged. You're not fighting your brain anymore. You're giving it what it wants in a way that serves you. Chapter 13. Implementation Intentions. Decide once, act forever. Here's a question. When are you going to work out tomorrow? If your answer is some version of I'll figure it out, or when I have time, or probably in the morning, you're almost certainly not going to work out. Not because you lack willpower, but because you're asking your brain to make a decision in the moment. And in the moment, decisions are where discipline goes to die. Let me tell you about the Swedish study that changed everything for me. Researchers in Sweden studied people who wanted to start exercising. They split them into 3 groups. Group 1 got education about the health benefits of exercise. Group 2 got the same education plus motivational content. Group 3 got the education and was asked to write down exactly when and where they would exercise. I will exercise on day, time, and place. After 1 month, Group 1, 38% exercised regularly. Group 2, 35% exercised regularly. Group 3, 91% exercised regularly. Think about that. Writing down when and where increased success rate from 38% to 91%. Not better information, not more motivation, just a specific plan. This is called an implementation intention, and research shows it can double or even triple your success rate for following through on goals. Here's why it works. Every decision requires energy. Every time you have to choose whether to do the disciplined thing or the easy thing, you're depleting your mental resources. And when you're tired, stressed, or distracted, which is most of the time, your brain defaults to the path of least resistance. Should I work out now or later? Later. Should I work on my project or watch TV? TV. Should I wake up now or hit snooze? Snooze. Every single one of these micro decisions is an opportunity for discipline to fail. But there's a simple solution. Don't make decisions in the moment. Make them in advance. Here's the formula. When X happens, I will do Y. Not I will out tomorrow. But when my alarm goes off at 6 a.m., I will immediately put on my gym clothes and go to the garage. Now I will work on my project this week. But when I finish my morning coffee, I will open my laptop and work on my project for 30 minutes. Not I will eat healthier. But when I'm at a restaurant, I will order the grilled option instead of fried. Do you see the difference? The first version requires a future decision. The second version has already made the decision. Your future self doesn't need willpower. They just need to follow the predetermined plan. This works because of how your brain processes conditional statements. When you create a specific when-then plan, you're essentially programming your brain with an if-then algorithm. When the trigger happens, your brain automatically knows what to do next. The decision has been removed from the equation. Let me give you a personal example. I used to struggle with writing consistently. Some days I'd write, some days I wouldn't. I'd tell myself, I'll write when I feel inspired. The problem, I rarely felt inspired. Then I created an implementation intention. When I finish making my coffee in the morning, I will sit down at my desk and write for 30 minutes before checking email or doing anything else. The specificity was key. Not in the morning, but after I finish making my coffee. That's a specific trigger my brain could recognize. Not write some stuff, but write for 30 minutes. That's a specific action my brain knew how to execute. And the result, I went from writing sporadically to writing every single day. Not because I became more disciplined, but because I removed the decision. This is why highly disciplined people seem to operate on autopilot. They're not making disciplined decisions throughout the day. They made all the decisions once in advance, and now they're just executing a predetermined plan. But here's the critical part. Your implementation intentions have to be specific. Vague. I'll work out in the morning. Specific. When my 6 a.m. alarm goes off, I'll put on the gym clothes next to my bed, drink the pre-workout I prepared the night before, and drive to the gym. Vague. I'll stop procrastinating. Specific. When I feel the urge to check social media during work hours, I will instead take 3 deep breaths and write 1 more sentence. The more specific your plan, the less thinking your brain has to do in the moment. And the less thinking required, the more likely you are to follow through. Now, let's take this one step further. You can chain implementation intentions together to create automatic routines. When my alarm goes off, I will immediately stand up. When I stand up, I will go directly to the bathroom. When I finish in the bathroom, I will put on my workout clothes. When my workout clothes are on, I will drink my pre-made shake. When I finish my shake, I will walk to my car. When I get in my car, I will drive to the gym. Each action triggers the next. You're not relying on motivation or willpower. You're relying on momentum and automatic sequences. This is how you build routines that happen without conscious effort. But here's what most people miss. You also need implementation intentions for obstacles, because obstacles will appear. And if you haven't planned for them, they'll derail you. When I'm too tired to work out, I'll do a 10-minute version instead of skipping entirely. When I don't feel like writing, I will write just one paragraph, knowing I can stop after that if I want to. When I'm tempted to break my diet, I will drink a full glass of water first and wait 10 minutes before deciding. You're not trying to eliminate obstacles. You're creating predetermined responses to them. Your brain doesn't have to figure out what to do when things get hard. You've already told it exactly what to do. This is the difference between people who have occasional discipline and people who have consistent discipline. Occasional discipline relies on in-the-moment decisions. Consistent discipline relies on predetermined plans. Write down your implementation intentions right now. Make them specific. Include obstacles and watch how discipline becomes dramatically easier when you remove the need to decide in the moment. Chapter 14. The Forcing Function. Make the bad option impossible. Let me tell you about a writer named Victor Hugo. In 1830, he had a serious problem. He had signed a contract to deliver a new novel to his publisher, but he kept procrastinating. He'd sit down to write, get distracted, find other things to do. Months passed. The deadline approached. Still, he couldn't make himself focus. So, he did something extreme. He took all of his clothes, everything except one large shawl, and had his assistant lock them away. He couldn't leave his house because he had nothing to wear. He literally couldn't go anywhere or do anything except sit at his desk and write. The result? He finished The Hunchback of Notre Dame 2 weeks before his deadline. This is a forcing function, a strategic constraint that makes the undisciplined option impossible. And it's one of the most powerful discipline tools you can use. Here's the principle. Willpower is about resisting temptation. But if you remove the ability to give into temptation, you don't need willpower at all. Your brain can't choose the easy option if the easy option doesn't exist. Now, you probably can't lock away all your clothes, but you can create modern forcing functions that work just as well. My friend Daniel struggled with wasting time on YouTube. He'd sit down to work and somehow end up watching random videos for 2 hours. He tried using willpower. I'll just resist the urge. It didn't work. He tried discipline apps that blocked sites for a set time. He just disabled them when the urge hit. Then he created a real forcing function. He used parental controls on his computer to block YouTube. And he had his wife set the password. He literally couldn't access YouTube, even if he wanted to. At first, his brain panicked. But what if I need to watch a tutorial? What if there's something important? But within 3 days, his brain stopped trying. It realized YouTube wasn't an option, so it stopped suggesting it. His productivity doubled overnight. Not because he developed more willpower, but because he made the bad option impossible. Here are more examples of forcing functions in action. Want to stop wasting time on social media? Don't rely on willpower to not open the apps. Delete them and go further. Use website blockers that prevent you from accessing them on your browser. Make it require significant effort to undo these restrictions. Ideally, make someone else hold the password. Want to save money instead of impulsively spending? Set up automatic transfers that move money to savings the day you get paid. The money is gone before you can spend it. You're not resisting the temptation to save. You've made spending the money harder. Want to stop hitting snooze? Put your alarm across the room. But go further. Use an alarm app that requires you to solve math problems or scan a barcode in your bathroom before it turns off. By the time you're awake enough to do that, you're too awake to go back to sleep. Want to work on your project? Every day, tell someone you respect that you're going to send them proof of your daily work. Now you're not just accountable to yourself. You're accountable to someone else. The embarrassment of not following through becomes a forcing function. The key is to make backsliding more difficult than moving forward. Most people try to make good behavior easier. That helps, but it's even more effective to make bad behavior harder. Don't just make healthy food convenient. Make unhealthy food inconvenient. Don't just put your workout clothes by your bed. Make staying in bed uncomfortable. Set your thermostat to make the room cold so you want to get up. You're engineering situations where discipline is the path of least resistance. Here's another powerful forcing function. Public commitment. Tell people what you're doing. Post it on social media. Tell your friends. Tell your family. Your brain will do almost anything to avoid social embarrassment. Once you've publicly stated your intention, backing down becomes significantly more costly. I did this with this very audiobook. I told everyone I was creating it. I announced a deadline publicly. Could I have backed out? Sure, but the social cost would have been high enough that pushing through is easier. But here's the advanced version. Combine public commitment with financial stakes. I'm working out every day this month. If I miss a day, I'm donating to a political party I hate. Now you've got serious skin in the game. The pain of losing money, especially to a cause you oppose, is a powerful motivator. Or create accountability partnerships. Find someone with similar goals. Every day, you both have to check in. If one of you fails, you both face a consequence. The forcing function isn't about punishment. It's about changing the cost-benefit calculation in your brain. Right now, skipping the workout has no immediate consequence. You just skip it. Maybe you feel a bit guilty, but that fades quickly. But if skipping the workout means you have to tell your accountability partner you failed, or donate money to a cause you hate, or break a public commitment, now skipping has an immediate and significant cost. Your brain does the math. Is lying on the couch worth the embarrassment, money, consequence? Usually, the answer is no. And so you do the discipline thing, not because you wanted to, but because the alternative was worse. This might sound harsh. Shouldn't discipline come from positive motivation rather than avoiding negative consequences? In an ideal world, sure, but we don't live in an ideal world. We live in a world where your brain is actively working against your long-term goals in favor of short-term comfort. Forcing functions level the playing field. They make the short-term comfort cost something. They make the long-term goal immediately relevant. Use them strategically, and you'll find that discipline stops being a constant battle and starts being the default. The question isn't, should I use forcing functions? The question is, what forcing functions can I create right now to make my goals inevitable? Continue with more chapters. Chapter 15. Keystone Habits. The one domino that knocks down all the others. Here's something fascinating. Some habits are more important than others, not because they produce bigger results directly, but because they trigger cascades of other positive changes. These are called keystone habits, and identifying them can transform your entire life with surprising efficiency. Let me tell you about Patricia's discovery. Patricia was struggling. At 38, she was overweight, stressed, sleeping poorly, and feeling like life was spiraling out of control. She knew she needed to change everything. Her diet, her sleep, her stress management, her productivity, but trying to fix everything at once had failed repeatedly. So, her therapist suggested something different. Pick one habit, just one. What feels achievable? 1. Patricia chose exercise, specifically a 20-minute walk every morning before work. That's all. She didn't try to change her diet, didn't try to fix her sleep schedule, didn't try to transform her work habits. Just a walk. Here's what happened. After 2 weeks of consistent morning walks, Patricia started sleeping better. The physical activity was improving sleep quality. Better sleep led to more energy during the day. With more energy, she stopped reaching for sugar and caffeine crashes. Her diet naturally improved. Better food choices led to more stable energy levels. Stable energy made her more productive at work. She started accomplishing more in less time. Being more productive reduced her stress. Lower stress improved her relationships with her family. Better relationships gave her more emotional support. That support made it easier to maintain all the positive changes. One habit, a 20-minute morning walk, created a domino effect that improved 6 other areas of her life. She didn't directly try to fix sleep, diet, productivity, stress, or relationships. She fixed one thing, and the rest followed naturally. That's a keystone habit. The reason this works comes down to identity and momentum. When you successfully maintain a keystone habit, It reinforces your identity as a disciplined person. And once that identity strengthens, your brain starts looking for ways to prove it true across other areas. I'm someone who walks every day becomes I'm someone who takes care of their health, which becomes I'm someone who makes good decisions, which becomes I'm someone who follows through on commitments. Each expansion of identity makes related positive behaviors feel more natural. Research suggests a few common keystones. Asterisk, asterisk, exercise, asterisk, asterisk, is the most universally powerful keystone habit. It impacts energy, sleep, mood, confidence, and decision-making across the board. Asterisk, asterisk, sleep, asterisk, asterisk, is another major keystone. Consistent sleep schedule, adequate sleep duration. Get this right, and everything else becomes easier. Asterisk, asterisk, morning routines. Asterisk, asterisk can be keystones. When you in the first hour of the day, the momentum carries forward. Asterisk, asterisk, food, logging, or meal planning. Asterisk, asterisk often triggers broader dietary improvements and greater body awareness. But here's what matters more than the specific habit. It needs to be something you can do consistently and something that makes you feel like you're winning. The keystone isn't about difficulty. It's about reliability. A keystone habit should be challenging enough that completing it feels like an accomplishment, but not so difficult that you'll fail frequently. Because here's the real power. Keystone habits build what psychologists call self-efficacy, your belief in your ability to succeed. Every day you complete your keystone habit, you're collecting evidence that you're capable of discipline. That evidence then spills over into other domains. I said I'd work out every day this week, and I did. If I can do that, maybe I can also start waking up earlier. Suddenly, other changes don't seem as impossible. My personal keystone habit is writing first thing in the morning. When I write, I feel productive. That feeling of productivity carries into everything else. I make better food choices. I'm more focused at work. I'm more patient with people. One habit creates a cascade. When I skip writing, the opposite happens. I feel off track. That feeling makes other discipline harder. I'm more likely to procrastinate, more likely to make poor choices. The cascade goes the other direction. So, here's how to use this strategically. First, identify your keystone. Pick one habit that you can realistically do every day or nearly every day. Makes you feel accomplished when you complete it, has potential to positively impact other areas of your life. Second, make that keystone habit non-negotiable for 30 days. This is your only focus. Don't try to change 10 things. Just nail this one thing. Third, track it visibly. Put an X on a calendar every day you complete it. Your brain needs to see the pattern of success. Fourth, once the keystone is automatic, and it will become automatic, notice what else starts changing without effort. Maybe you're sleeping better. Maybe you're more focused. Maybe you're eating differently. Don't force these changes. Just observe them and reinforce them when they appear naturally. Patricia's morning walk became automatic after about 45 days. Once it was automatic, she added a second keystone, going to bed at a consistent time. That one took about 30 days to become automatic. 2 years later, she's unrecognizable. Lost 50 pounds, promoted at work, relationships transformed, and none of it came from trying to fix everything at once. It came from understanding that one domino placed correctly knocks down all the others. You find the keystone. You build that one habit into an unbreakable routine. And then you watch as discipline spreads from one area into everything else. The question isn't how do I fix my entire life? The question is what's my keystone? Part 4. Advanced Mastery. Chapter 16. The Discipline Flywheel. When discipline becomes effortless. There's a moment that happens in every discipline journey that changes everything. It's the moment when discipline stops being something you force and starts being something that carries you. I call this the discipline flywheel, and understanding it will help you push through the hardest early days. Let me tell you about James and his transformation. James started working out at age 45. He was 60 pounds overweight, hadn't exercised in 20 years, and every single workout felt like torture. Day 1, brutal. Everything hurt. He barely made it through 10 minutes. Day 7, still awful. His body ached. His brain screamed at him to stop. Day 30, hard but manageable. Starting to build a tiny bit of momentum. Day 60, something weird happened. Missing a workout started to feel wrong. Day 90, working out felt easier than not working out. By day 180, people asked him, "How do you stay so motivated?" His answer, "I'm not motivated. It just feels natural now, like brushing my teeth." What happened between day 1 and day 180? The discipline flywheel reached critical speed. Imagine a massive wheel, hundreds of pounds, enormous diameter. It's completely stationary, and your job is to get it spinning. You push. Nothing happens. You push again. It barely moves. You keep pushing slowly, almost imperceptibly. It starts to turn. Each push is exhausting. Each rotation takes enormous effort. But you keep pushing, and gradually something changes. The wheel starts moving a little easier. Each push generates a little more momentum. And then at a certain point, you're not sure exactly when it happens. The wheel is spinning on its own. You're still pushing, but now you're not moving it. You're just maintaining the speed it already has. And if you stopped pushing entirely, it would keep spinning for a while from sheer momentum. This is what happens with discipline. In the beginning, every single action requires massive effort. You're pushing against years of opposite programming, starting from zero momentum, fighting your brain's resistance at every step. It's exhausting. It feels like it will always be this hard, but it won't, because every action adds momentum. Every completed task makes the next one slightly easier. Every day you maintain your identity reinforces it slightly more. You're not just doing things, you're building a flywheel. And at a certain point, usually somewhere between 60 and 90 days of consistency, the flywheel reaches critical speed. Discipline stops feeling like pushing a boulder uphill and starts feeling like riding a wave. The actions that used to require enormous willpower now happen almost automatically. You don't debate whether to work out. You just work out. You don't struggle to start working. You just start. You don't fight yourself about eating well. You just eat well because the flywheel is spinning, and maintaining the spin is easier than starting from a standstill. James discovered this. And once the flywheel was spinning, he added more disciplined behaviors, started eating better, started reading daily, started going to bed at a consistent time. Each new behavior was easier to add than the first one had been, because the flywheel was already spinning. He just had to adjust the direction slightly, not start from zero. But here's the critical insight. The flywheel works both ways. Just as momentum builds with consistent action, it decays with inconsistent action. Miss one day, and the wheel slows down slightly. Miss 3 days, and it slows significantly. Miss a week, and you're almost back to pushing the stationary wheel again. This is why breaks in consistency are so costly. You're not just missing a single action. You're losing momentum that took weeks to build. I learned this the hard way. After writing consistently for 6 months, I took a 1-week break. By the end of that week, sitting down to write felt as hard as it had on day 1. I had to rebuild all the momentum from scratch. Now, does this mean you can never miss a day? That any break will destroy everything you've built? No. Remember the never zero principle. The flywheel doesn't care about perfect execution. It cares about presence. Do something, anything, and you maintain most of your momentum. Do nothing, and the momentum bleeds away. James learned this during a business trip. He couldn't get to the gym, but he did 20 push-ups in his hotel room. Not his full workout, but enough to keep the flywheel spinning. When he got home, he went right back to his full routine. No momentum lost. So, here's how to use the disciplined flywheel concept strategically. Asterisk, asterisk. In the beginning, days 1 to 30, asterisk, asterisk, accept that it will be hard. Don't expect it to feel easy. Don't wait for it to feel easy. Just keep pushing. The wheel will eventually move. Your only job is to show up every day and push. In the middle, days 30 to 90. This is the danger zone. You've built some momentum, but not enough for it to feel effortless. This is where most people quit, because it still feels hard and they expected it to be easier by now. Don't quit. The flywheel is moving. It just hasn't reached critical speed yet. You're closer than you think. Asterisk, asterisk. At critical speed, day 90 plus, asterisk, asterisk. Recognize when you've hit this point. Suddenly, things feel easier. You're not fighting yourself as much. This is your signal that the system is working. Now your job is maintenance, not initiation. Keep the wheel spinning by showing up consistently. Asterisk, asterisk during maintenance. Asterisk, asterisk. Understand that maintaining the flywheel is infinitely easier than starting it. Even when you don't feel like it, show up. Because letting the wheel stop means you have to go through the brutal starting phase again. The discipline flywheel explains why discipline gets easier with time and why breaks are so dangerous. It's not moral weakness that makes people fall back into old patterns after a vacation or a break. It's physics, the momentum stopped. Now, they have to rebuild it. But if you understand this mechanism, you can protect against it. Before any break or disruption, you plan how you'll maintain minimum momentum. Not perfect performance, just enough action to keep the wheel spinning. Going on vacation. You're not going to do your full routine, but you'll do the never zero version. Dealing with a crisis, you're not going to hit all your goals, but you'll do something. Because once you've built a spinning flywheel, protecting it becomes your highest priority. Everything else in your discipline journey is about getting the wheel to critical speed and keeping it there. Chapter 17. The long game. Why most people quit right before the breakthrough. Let's talk about something uncomfortable. Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a week and drastically underestimate what they can accomplish in a year. They expect dramatic transformation immediately. And when it doesn't happen, they quit. But discipline isn't about dramatic transformation. It's about unglamorous, boring daily consistency that compounds into extraordinary results over time. Let me tell you about two people who started on the same day with the same goal. Get in shape. Person A goes Allen. Gym 6 days a week. Strict meal plan. Early mornings. The works. Loses 15 pounds in the first month. Feels amazing. Post-transformation photos. By month 3, burns out completely. The intensity wasn't sustainable. Gains back the weight plus 5 more pounds. Quits. Person B starts with just 15 minutes of exercise 3 times a week and cutting out soda. Loses 3 lbs the first month. Feels like nothing is happening. No dramatic transformation. No impressive photos to post, but keeps going. Adds more gradually. After 6 months, up to 30-minute workouts 4 times a week. Lost 18 pounds total. After 1 year, lost 32 pounds, built muscle. Completely transformed body composition. People don't even recognize them. After 2 years, maintained a transformation. It's just who they are now. The changes are permanent because they were built gradually. Person A wanted fast results and got them temporarily. Person B played the long game and won permanently. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The changes that last are the ones that happen slowly. If you improve by just 1% every day for a year, you don't end up 365% better. The math of compound growth says you end up 37 times better. But here's the problem. 1% improvement is almost invisible. You can't see it. You can't feel it. You can't measure it accurately in real time. So your brain says, this isn't working. Nothing's changing. But it is working. You just can't see it yet. This is exactly like watching a bamboo plant grow. For the first few years, you water it every day and nothing happens. No visible growth at all. But underground, it's developing a massive root system. And then suddenly, it shoots up 90 feet in 6 weeks. It didn't grow 90 feet in 6 weeks. It spent years building the foundation that made that growth possible. Your discipline journey is the same. The first weeks, even months, might feel like nothing is changing. You're doing the work. You're showing up, but the external results seem minimal. That's because you're building roots. You're rewiring neural pathways. You're establishing identity. You're creating momentum in the discipline flywheel. You're accumulating compound interest in the self-rust bank. And then, at some point, everything shifts. Suddenly, discipline feels easier. Suddenly, results start appearing. Suddenly, people notice the change in you. But it wasn't sudden at all. It was the inevitable result of accumulated consistency. I see this with my YouTube channel. The first year I created content, I got almost no views. It felt pointless, like I was shouting into the void. But I kept going, creating, publishing, improving. In month 14, something clicked. Views started multiplying. Subscribers started coming. Suddenly, it looked like overnight success. But it wasn't overnight. It was 14 months of invisible foundation building that finally became visible. This is why the long game is the only game worth playing. Short-term thinking says, I'll try this for a month and see if it works. A month isn't enough time to see meaningful results. A month is barely enough time to establish a habit. Long-term thinking says, I'll commit to this for a year and evaluate. Then that's enough time for the compound effect to work. That's enough time for roots to develop. That's enough time for transformation. But our culture doesn't support long-term thinking. We want instant results. We want to see progress immediately. We want a transformation now. And social media makes it worse. We see people's highlight reels the moment they've achieved something, without seeing the years of invisible work that led there. So we think transformation should be fast. And when ours isn't, we think we're doing it wrong. But you're not doing it wrong. You're doing it exactly right. You just need to zoom out. Stop measuring your progress day by day. Day-by-day measurement will drive you crazy because the changes are too small to see. Measure month by month, quarter by quarter, year by year. Compare yourself today to yourself 6 months ago. That's where you'll see the change. And here's the beautiful thing about the long game. The people who are willing to play it win by default, because almost nobody else is willing to. Most people will start with you. They'll have the same goals, the same plans, the same initial enthusiasm, but they're playing the short game. They expect fast results. And when they don't see them, they quit. 3 months in, half of them are gone. 6 months in, 90% are gone. A year in, you're basically competing with no one. Not because you're more talented or more capable, but because you were willing to play the long game when everyone else wanted the shortcut. There is no shortcut to sustainable discipline. There's no hack that bypasses the process. There's only consistent action over long periods of time. That's it. That's the whole secret. And the reason it's a secret is because it's so boring that most people refuse to believe it could work. They keep looking for the magic solution, the one trick, the perfect system. But the perfect system is the one you'll actually do for years. Not the most optimized, not the most efficient, the one you'll stick with because consistency over time beats intensity in the moment, always. James from the Flywheel chapter is now 5 years into his fitness journey. He's competed in triathlons. He coaches other people. His whole life is different. But if you ask him the secret, he'll tell you, I just showed up every day for 5 years. That's it. No magic, no secret, just the long game. Are you willing to play it? Chapter 18. Becoming inevitable. When discipline becomes your identity, there's a final shift that happens. When discipline becomes truly mastered, it's the point where discipline stops being something you do and becomes something you are. Where following through isn't a choice you make. It's simply inevitable. This is the ultimate goal. Not to become someone who's good at discipline, but to become someone for whom discipline is automatic. Let me tell you about my friend Carlos. 10 years ago, Carlos was unreliable. He'd make plans and cancel, set goals and quit, start things and never finish. His friends joked about it. His family didn't count on him. He didn't even count on himself. Then something changed. I don't know what specifically triggered it, but Carlos decided, I'm done being this person. I'm becoming someone who follows through. He didn't try to change everything. He started with one commitment. I will show up to my friend's weekly basketball game every week, no matter what. That's it. One commitment. One area where he would be absolutely reliable. The first few weeks, his brain offered excuses. Tired, busy, not feeling it. But he went anyway. After 3 months, something shifted. Going to basketball wasn't a decision anymore. It was just what he did on Tuesday nights, part of who he was. Then he added another commitment and another, each one reinforcing the identity. I'm someone who follows through. Today, Carlos is the most reliable person I know. If he says he'll do something, it's done. No reminder needed. No following up. It's inevitable. And the interesting thing, he doesn't think of himself as disciplined. He just thinks of himself as someone who does what he says he'll do. The discipline has become invisible to him. It's not a trait he has. It's just who he is. This is the final evolution. And you get there through one final concept: inevitability thinking. Here's what I mean. Right now, when you think about doing the discipline thing, your brain frames it as a choice. Should I work out or not? Should I work on my project or watch TV? Should I get up now or hit snooze? As long as it's framed as a choice, there's debate. And where there's debate, there's opportunity for discipline to fail. But what if it wasn't a choice? What if the question wasn't should I, but rather when exactly will I? Not should I work out, but I'm working out at 6 a.m. Not should I work on my project, but I'm working on my project from 8 to 10. Not should I get up, but I'm getting up when the alarm goes off. You've removed the choice. The action is inevitable. The only variable is execution. This might seem like a semantic difference, but it's neurologically profound. When you frame something as a choice, your brain activates decision-making circuits. It weighs options. It considers alternatives. It burns energy. When you frame something as inevitable, your brain skips all that. There's no decision to make. There's only the action to execute. This is how elite performers operate. They don't debate whether to practice. Practice is inevitable. They don't question whether to prepare. Preparation is inevitable. They don't wonder if they'll show up. Showing up is inevitable. They've moved beyond choice into inevitability. And you can do the same thing. Start paying attention to how you frame your disciplined actions internally. When you catch yourself thinking, should I? Immediately reframe it. I am going to. Not I should work out today, but I am working out today. Not maybe I'll start my project, but I'm starting my project now. The language shift creates an identity shift, and the identity shift creates an action shift. Because here's the truth. Your brain believes the stories you tell it. If you tell it, I'm the kind of person who debates whether to work out, it will give you reasons to debate. If you tell it, I'm the kind of person who works out, no discussion. It stops offering alternatives. This is the final evolution of the identity principle we discussed at the very beginning. You started by claiming the identity. I'm someone who works out. Then you proved it through action. Then the identity reinforced itself through compound effects. And now, at the mastery level, the identity is so strong that contradicting it doesn't even feel like an option. It's not I'm trying to be someone who works out. It's not even I'm someone who works out. It's of course I work out. That's just what I do. The inevitability is complete. I've reached this point with my morning writing. People ask me, how do you write every single day? I don't have a good answer because, to me, the question doesn't make sense. It's like asking, how do you brush your teeth every day? I just do. It's not a decision. It's not discipline. It's just what happens in the morning. The action has become so integrated into my identity that not doing it would require more effort than doing it. And when you reach this point, when discipline has become inevitable rather than optional, you've achieved something most people never will. Not superhuman willpower, not exceptional genetics, not some magical gift, just complete integration of discipline into your identity. Where doing the thing is easier than not doing it. Where following through is automatic. Where discipline isn't something you struggle with anymore. It's just who you are. And that's the ultimate goal of this entire audiobook. Not to give you strategies you have to remember to use, but to help you become someone who doesn't need strategies anymore. Someone for whom discipline is simply inevitable. Part 5, Closing and Call to Action. Chapter 19, The 30-Day Discipline Reset. Your action plan. You have the knowledge. You understand the principles. You know what to do. Now, let's make this concrete. Let's give you a specific, actionable plan that you can start implementing today. I call this the 30-Day Discipline Reset. Not because 30 days will make you a completely different person, but because 30 days is enough time to prove to yourself that you're capable of sustained discipline. 30 days is enough time to build initial momentum, to see early results, to collect evidence that this actually works. And once you have that evidence, continuing becomes exponentially easier. Week 3, the expansion. Now that you've proven you can maintain one habit for 2 weeks, you can carefully add one more, not 5 more, one more. Choose a habit that complements your keystone. If your keystone is exercise, Maybe you add a sleep habit. If your keystone is work-focused, maybe you add a reading habit. But here's the rule. The first habit remains non-negotiable. You don't sacrifice habit 1 to make time for habit 2. You find a way to do both. This week teaches you that discipline is scalable, that you can maintain multiple commitments simultaneously without burning out. If you find yourself struggling to maintain both, immediately go to never zero mode. Do the absolute minimum version of both habits, but don't let either one go to zero. Week 4, the integration. By week 4, your original habit should be starting to feel automatic. Not effortless, but automatic. Your brain knows what's happening. Your identity is reinforcing itself. The discipline flywheel is spinning. This week, your focus shifts from building the habits to solidifying your identity around them. Start paying attention to how you talk about yourself, both internally and externally. Are you still saying, "I'm trying to be more disciplined," or have you shifted to, "I'm someone who follows through"? Are you still viewing the habits as separate from who you are, or are they becoming integrated into your identity? This is also the week where you start planning your next 30 days, because the reset doesn't end at day 30. That's just the beginning. What's your next keystone habit? What's the next area of your life you want to bring discipline to? You don't start it yet, but you plan for it. By the end of week 4, you'll have 30 consecutive days of your primary habit. You'll have 14 to 21 days of your secondary habit, and you'll have undeniable proof that you're capable of sustained discipline. That proof changes everything. The never zero commitment. Throughout all 30 days, one rule overrides everything else. Never zero. If you have a terrible day and can't do your full habit, do the minimum version. Can't do your full workout? Do 5 push-ups. Can't do your full work session? Work for 5 minutes. Can't complete your full routine? Do 1 component. Never let the number go to 0, because 0 breaks the pattern. 0 weakens your identity. 0 resets your momentum. Anything above 0 maintains all 3. This is your roadmap, your action plan, your proof of concept. 30 days from now, you'll either be someone who consumed another piece of content and changed nothing, or you'll be someone who actually did the work. Which one are you going to be? Chapter 20, The Truth About Transformation. Before we close, I need to tell you something that might be hard to hear. This audiobook won't change your life. You might have hoped it would. You might have thought that understanding these principles would be enough, that knowing what to do would automatically make you do it. But it won't. I can give you every strategy, every framework, every psychological trick that exists, but none of it matters if you don't use it. Knowledge is not transformation. Understanding is not change. Insight is not action. The only thing that creates transformation is repeated action over time. That's it. That's the entire secret. Not the perfect system, not the ideal circumstances, not the breakthrough moment of clarity, just showing up and doing the thing again and again and again until the person who needed this audiobook doesn't exist anymore. Until discipline isn't something you struggle with. Until following through is just what you do. But that only happens if you start, and if you keep starting every single day. So let me be very direct with you. 6 months from now, you'll be in one of 2 places. In the first place, you'll be exactly where you are right now. Maybe you'll have listened to a few more audiobooks, read a few more articles, learned a few more strategies, but nothing will have actually changed because you'll have consumed information without taking action. You'll still be the person who struggles with discipline, who knows what they should do but doesn't do it, who has all the knowledge but none of the results. In the second place, you'll be unrecognizable, not because of some dramatic transformation, but because of 6 months of daily consistency. 6 months of doing the thing, even when you didn't feel like it. 6 months of building your discipline flywheel. 6 months of proving to yourself that you're someone who follows through. And the person who emerges from that process won't need discipline advice anymore. They'll just be disciplined. The difference between these 2 futures isn't your circumstances. It's not your genetics. It's not your schedule or your resources or your support system. The difference is whether you act on what you now know. That's the only variable that matters. So, which future are you choosing? Because you're choosing right now, in this moment. Either you're choosing to be the person who takes action, or you're choosing to be the person who just consumed another piece of content and changed nothing. There's no judgment in that statement. It's just reality. You get to decide, but you do have to decide. And the decision isn't made with words or intentions. It's made with action. Chapter 21, your first action. Right now, we're almost done. But before we finish, you need to do something. Not later. Not after you've thought about it. Right now, I want you to pause this audiobook, take out your phone or grab a piece of paper, and write down 3 things. First, what is your keystone habit? The one habit you're committing to for the next 30 days. Be specific. Not exercise, but 20 push-ups every morning after I brush my teeth. Write down. Second, what is your implementation intention? When exactly will you do this habit? What's the trigger? What's the action? When my alarm goes off at 6 a.m., I will immediately put on my workout clothes and do 20 push-ups. Write it down. Third, what is your never zero version? When circumstances are terrible and you can't do the full habit, what's the absolute minimum you'll do to keep the pattern alive? If I can't do 20 push-ups, I will do 5. If I can't do 5, I will do 1. But I will never do 0. Write down now. Actually do this. Don't just think about it. Don't tell yourself you'll do it later, because this is the test. If you can't take 60 seconds right now to write down 3 things, you're not serious about change. You're consuming content for entertainment. And that's fine, but be honest with yourself about it. If you do take the 60 seconds, if you actually write these things down right now, you've just taken the first action. You just proven to yourself that you're someone who follows through on commitments. That's the first deposit in your trust bank. That's the first push on your discipline flywheel. That's the first piece of evidence for your new identity. So do it. Pause the audiobook. Write the 3 things. Then come back. Chapter 22, the commitment. Make it real. Now that you have your 3 things written down, let's lock in your commitment. Find one person you trust and respect, someone whose opinion matters to you. Within the next 24 hours, tell them what you're committing to. Show them what you wrote down. Ask them to check in with you in 1 week. This creates accountability. This creates a forcing function. This makes backsliding more costly than following through. If you're serious about this, you'll do it. If you're not, you'll skip this step and tell yourself you don't need external accountability. But here's the truth. Everyone needs accountability in the beginning. The people who say they don't are usually the people who fail. So tell someone. Make it real. Make it public, at least to one person. And then, starting tomorrow morning, begin your 30-day reset. Day 1, do your keystone habit. Mark it on your calendar. Feel the small win. Day 2, do it again. Notice that it's slightly easier than day 1. Day 3, do it again. The pattern is forming. Keep going every single day through motivation and through resistance, through good days and through terrible days. Never 0. And somewhere between day 21 and day 30, you'll notice something shift. It won't be dramatic. You won't wake up one morning completely transformed, but you'll realize that doing the thing has become easier than not doing it. That you're not fighting yourself as much. That you've started identifying as someone who follows through. That's when you know the discipline flywheel has reached critical speed. And that's when everything changes. Final chapter, the beginning. We've reached the end of this audiobook. But this isn't really an ending. It's a beginning. Everything up to this point has been preparation, theory, understanding. Now comes the part that actually matters, the practice. You're going to close this audiobook and return to your regular life, your environment, your routines, your challenges. And you're going to be tempted to let everything you learned fade into background noise, to go back to how things were, to consume this information and change nothing. Don't. You listen to this audiobook for a reason. Some part of you knows you're capable of more. Honor that part of yourself. Take action. Start your 30-day reset. Prove to yourself that you're someone who follows through. Not because I'm telling you to, but because you already decided this is who you want to be. The only question is whether you're willing to act on that decision. I believe you are. I believe that you're capable of far more discipline than you've shown yourself up to this point. I believe that 6 months from now, you could be unrecognizable in the best possible way. But belief doesn't matter. Action matters. So stop consuming, start doing. Stop learning, start practicing. Stop preparing, start becoming. The person you want to be is waiting on the other side of consistent action. Go meet them. Do the thing you've been putting off. Take the first step toward the life you actually want. And when your brain tells you that you can't, that it's too hard, that you should wait, remember these 3 words. Do it anyway. That's your answer to every excuse, your response to every moment of resistance, your bridge between who you are and who you're becoming. Do it anyway, starting right now. Not tomorrow, not Monday, not when you feel ready. Now, close this audiobook. Take the first action and begin the transformation. You've got this. Now go prove it.